right, welcome back to another episode of BET GPT. This is episode 45, and I know we're a little late in the week. That's on me. I had a few things to take care of, but we are here. We have a breakdown of the AFC and NFC championship games, little Super Bowl preview, talk about what we're looking for in that game. We'll be handicapping that game, pretty much everything, but the player props. We'll save that for next week because we do have that 2-week break in between the championship and Super Bowl games. So, Slade, I guess I know you're happy. We got a Chiefs Niners Super Bowl. I like Mahomes, obviously. Within our friend group, my opinions, I give you a hard time about Mahomes, about Butker, about this Chiefs team. I didn't think they could get it done. They've been underdogs the past couple weeks, especially to my Bills. Were you surprised by this? You can be honest, or did you think that this was going to happen, Chiefs wise?
No, I didn't think this was going to happen. I was honestly more right before the season started with my predictions. Like if you go back to our preseason preview pod, I had the Chiefs and the 49ers in the Super Bowl, but this is not how I expected to get here. I obviously wavered when things started going sideways, but even to Mahomes believers like me, this is just a lesson that like the regular season to players of that stature, it doesn't really matter. Just get in and you'll probably be fine. My preseason prediction is still possible with the Chiefs over the Niners. I flipped it week 2 after the Chiefs lost to the Lions week 1. So I guess August me knew we'd be here, just not this way. I do have one thing to kind of just kickstart it. I have a text from you from September. I want to know if you still believe this, that you said, I don't think Patrick Mahomes will win another Super Bowl in his career. And you said, and you made sure to reiterate that it was not bullshit, that you genuinely believed that. And for the record, I want the record to show too that Brady Ellingson agreed. So I just want to know, do you still believe that? And, there is another like 12 years of Mahomes' career. So I just want to hear what you've got to say.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and double down on that. It's Friday night, February 2nd, 2024. Patrick Mahomes will not win another Super Bowl. I'm a little disappointed you brought this up because now everyone knows that I'm going to be betting the 49ers to win the Super Bowl this year. But this Chiefs team does not impress me. We'll get into the game. The Ravens lost that game. The Chiefs did not win. The Chiefs defense won the game. So I have plenty of things to say about that. Mahomes, yes, is an all-time great, but it is very, very hard to win a Super Bowl. Yes, he's done it before. He's also lost. You can get there and lose. He's done it before. The Ravens lose. Everyone's like, oh, Lamar may never be back. The Lions lose. Oh, they may never be back. Why don't people say that about Mahomes? Am I the only person who thinks?
Because he's been there 4 times in 6 years. The Lions have won one playoff game in, 4 decades?
Yeah.
I mean, and this is the team that, the defense got turned it on for a bit, but this was the team that lost the home field advantage, the team that had no weapons at wide receiver, lost on Christmas to the Raiders. Like they had every single thing that you wanted as a Chiefs. If you're a Chiefs hater, they checked like almost every single box for what you'd want to see from them this year, realistically, and they still are in this spot. I didn't think they'd be here. They've been underdogs, 2 games in a row. It was, they can't win on the road, or we don't know if they can win on the road, blah, blah, blah. I've been of the opinion since like 2019 that the NFL outside of the Chiefs is kind of boring. And whether people want to admit it or not, they are the league. They are the face of the league. They were the face of the league before Taylor Swift, and now it's just another demographic added on top of that. But without them, no one really would have a passionate opinion either way. Like, oh, the Lions and the Niners would be a cute story and everyone would be like, oh, I'm happy for them. But no one would really be like, one, excited or have any like nervousness or want to even care to put like their nuts on the line to be wrong. Like one of us two is going to be wrong. That's fine. But there would have been no stakes for anybody if it's the Lions and the Niners, and everyone wants to act like they want those teams in. But when it really comes down to it, people want to either root for something or against something, and they got that.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. And yes, as a Chiefs hater, it's at the same time, it's like I recognize that Patrick Mahomes is an all-time great, and I like Patrick Mahomes. I'm just saying it's not a guarantee that he's going to win another one. Could I be wrong? Am I most likely going to be wrong? I guess probably, but it is not. We can't act like he's just going to go on this run again for another 6 years. For the next like 6 years, go to another 4 Super Bowls. If he does this again, that's Tom Brady range. That's the Michael Jordan of football, as our good friend Will Hill said on his podcast the other day. It's uncharted territory, and so if I'm wrong, then we are witnessing just absolute greatness. So I guess I can't argue with that.
And people have liked to bring up luck with the Chiefs. They brought it up with the Patriots. I'm sure they've brought it up. I mean, we brought it up with LeBron and the Warriors, and I'm sure people did with the Bulls. Really, anytime there's greatness, there's this talk of luck. And I know you said last year you didn't think the Chiefs were the best team, but they won the Super Bowl. And there's never really any one. There's never any one like thing. There's always multiple variables anytime you're going to accomplish something of a great magnitude. So it's never going to be just like, oh, they won because of Mahomes. So I'm not saying that. Like, obviously, you need an Andy Reid and you need a defense, and Michael Jordan needed Scotty, and Tom Brady needed Gronk and Edelman. So it's not. I don't want to make it like an individual, like, oh, it's Mahomes versus Purdy, because that's not the conversation. I think it's more just let's just appreciate that what Mahomes is doing right now, because like you said, it might not last forever. He could get hurt tomorrow or 2 weeks, and we might not get to see a QB play at this level for a while. Because if Mahomes goes down, there's Josh Allen, and there's nothing. Like there's not that much at the quarterback position to be like excited about as a neutral fan besides him and maybe Josh Allen.
And Burrow. Yeah, I think Burrow's there too.
He's got to stay. You want to talk about staying healthy? It's him.
No, you're exactly right. And just to, I guess, wrap this point up, you brought up luck. Like these great players and great teams, they get lucky on the big stages because they're always there. It's like Tom Brady and Mahomes, they can't win a Super Bowl every year, but they're going to be like in the divisional playoff or the championship round or like contending right there every year. And there's going to be opportunities to either get lucky or at the same time, they got screwed by a penalty or this happened, whatever. Yeah. So that's just how it goes.
Like Tom Brady lost a Super Bowl to the Giants. He was better than the Giants. He was better than Eli Manning. That Patriots team was one of the best ever, and they lost the Super Bowl. People will talk about, all this crap with, we'll say the Warriors or even the Bulls, but like they don't talk about how Scottie Pippen sits out of Game 7 for a migraine, and then that team goes on and wins the finals in 5 games. Like there's always things that happen. There's always bad luck that goes the other way. I mean, Mahomes, maybe he's gotten lucky at some points in the playoffs in his career, but he's also had the D Ford game. Like he's had bad luck too. But like you said, the great ones more times than not seem to pull it out. Like I think you could argue Tom Brady probably ended up with the right number of Super Bowls, but he probably could have lost 2 and won 2 in a totally different fashion.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. You brought up it takes more than just the player. You got Andy Reid, you got Spagnuolo leading the defense for the Chiefs. That's what the Chiefs relied on essentially to win this game in the second half. So I got a little recap here. Let's just go through it. We'll break down each of the 2 games, and then we can, I guess, further talk about the Super Bowl matchup. So we'll start with the Ravens-Chiefs. Casey defers to start the game. Ravens go 3 and out. From there, it's kind of like, oh boy, like the Chiefs defense, like they're ready for Lamar. They got a game plan. They started blitzing quite a bit. Lamar could not handle that. And it really showed, especially in the first half. So Chiefs get the ball back. They go 10 for 86. They have a 4th and 2 conversion to Kelsey. And then Kelsey scores against Kyle Hamilton, the safety for the Ravens. That's his first touchdown he's given up to a tight end all year. And Kelsey has his 6th touchdown in championship game history, which is the most by anyone. Is that good?
That is good. That's my GOAT.
Confirmed
my
good.
Tight end GOAT.
Exactly. Your tight end GOAT. Mine is Gronk, though. Anyway. Baltimore gets the ball back. They go for it on 4th down from their own 31. They easily get it. Lamar rushes for like 15 yards. No biggie. They drive down the field. Lamar has like a crazy scramble, throws it to Zay Flowers. It's 7-7. At this point, I don't know about you, but I'm thinking like this is like an instant classic. Like this is going to be like an all-time great game.
Yeah, it started that way.
Yeah. And not to say it wasn't a great game. It was kind of just a low scoring battle. You look at this game compared to the Niners Lions, this was like a very like methodical and like these just guys just banging into each other and trying to out physical each other. Whereas like the Lions Niners game was more of like who is the fastest guys, who can we get the ball to out in the open field. But anyway, going back into this game, Chiefs get the ball back. They have a 16-play, 75-yard drive. It takes 9 minutes and 2 seconds. So the Ravens D just absolutely gassed. It's 14-7, 10:56 left in the second quarter. At that point, the Chiefs have 12 first downs. The Ravens only have 9 plays. So just getting Lamar and the Ravens out of rhythm, getting them uncomfortable, I think was huge. I feel like, I can get your opinion on this. Do you think that this was like their game plan to begin with? Like, let's get a lead. And even though they did defer, let's get a lead. Let's try to get it, maybe double them up at halftime, and go in the third quarter with the lead.
Yeah, and I think you'll probably get to it later in this recap. And I think people got a little hung up on how the Chiefs offense kind of stalled in the second half, but it did feel like if the Chiefs really needed to, they could move the ball. I'm not saying that they were trying not to score. That's ludicrous. I'm just saying that I think that they were not willing to take risks after a certain point. But from the Ravens standpoint, I never understood, going back to even in the first half, they kind of just gave up trying to run the ball. And it's kind of confusing because when we were watching that Bills Chiefs game, every single first down was 7 yards for the Bills.
The Bills
every single one.
The Bills went 39 for 182 against the Chiefs, and they only had 9 runs in the first half.
It made no sense. Everyone was hype. It's crazy how everyone was hyping up this Ravens offensive coordinator like a week ago and how much better he was than Greg Roman and all of this stuff. And it's like that game plan was terrible. If the and God, I'm jumping the gun here again, but like if the 49ers are going to win the Super Bowl, it's going to be because McCaffrey is gashing them for 6-7 yards a play.
Yeah, don't steal my thunder, man. I'll be getting to that.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Anyway, so it's 14-7. Lamar gets strip sacked by Charles Omenihu, who I don't know if you saw, but he tore his ACL, so he's going to be out for the Super Bowl.
Yeah. He's a Texas guy too.
Yeah, Texas guy. There you go. Hook him. He's not like a superstar by any means, but that is a guy who consistently will put pressure on the QB. So I think that's a pretty big loss there. So they're gonna have to figure that out. Your boy Butker gets a field goal to end the half, 17-7. So 17-7 at the half. Mahomes is 20-25. Kelsey 9 for 96 on 9 targets. That's perfect. They get the ball back to start the second half. That's to a T. That's how you want to play the game. Second half, like you said, they kind of toned their offense down a little bit, let the defense do all the dirty work. They kept blitzing Lamar. He couldn't handle it. He eventually drives down the field. Zay Flowers gets stripped at the 1-yard line for a touchback. Chiefs end up punting again. Lamar drives down the field, throws an interception and triple coverage in the end zone. And from there, they're pretty much cooked. They're down 10. They end up getting a field goal late with like 3 or 4 minutes left. So the Chiefs have the ball. Ravens have 2 timeouts. Chiefs essentially just need to run a couple plays and get 1 first down, and it more than likely ices it. So this is where I want to ask you. It's 1st and 5 at the KC 30 with 2:28 to go. This is when Roquan Smith jumped off sides. He got that unnecessary roughness call, 15-yard penalty.
Smart play.
So yes, it's a smart play. But would it not have been smarter for the Chiefs to decline it? Why is he being applauded for making such a smart play? It's not like they couldn't stop. They just decline it.
That's true. I didn't even think of that. What did they? I don't know. I guess I didn't even.
They didn't talk about it in the broadcast. But what happens if they decline it? Do the Ravens jump off again, and it's just like a constant game of like, all right, we're gonna have 80 penalties back to back?
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. Like they didn't even like talk about that on the broadcast. I mean, Romo's terrible, so that shouldn't surprise us. don't even get me started on Romo. I know I brought him up, but he just sucks, dude. Like a guy gets poked in the eye and is clearly like going like this to his face, and he's talking about his ankle. What are we doing, Tony?
He's a little bit disconnected from the game. I think he really knew what he was doing the first 2 years out, and then the game's evolved, and now
He,
he's a little
he
off
got
base.
famous for like predicting those plays a few times, and then
Yeah.
it's like became his whole shtick, and now it's overdone, and it's like get anyone else in here. Greg Olsen is a million times better than him.
And Greg Olsen just lost his job to Tom Brady. So,
Yeah, it's silly.
yeah. Okay, anyway, so yeah, Chiefs, like I said, if I'm the Chiefs, I decline that because a 1st and 5 is, on paper 2 times easier to get than a 1st and 10. Whatever. They accept it. Maybe they wanted the 15 yards of field position in case they did have to punt. But anyway, they get it down to a 3rd and 9, the 2-minute warning, and they go deep to MVS, catches it for 33 yards. Someone actually makes a play for the Chiefs, which is exactly what they needed. They get it done. Mahomes kneels it a couple times, and the Chiefs win.
I texted you guys in that second half. I said, if the Ravens score here, I promise you Mahomes leads a scoring drive. So I was wrong. They didn't lead a scoring drive, but the play to MVS was essentially the same thing. It just iced the game. You have that feeling in your stomach where you're like, I know that if they need to make a play, they're going to make a play.
Yeah.
That's how it felt all game. I don't know about you, but once they got 17-7, I didn't think the Chiefs were going to lose, even despite Zay Flowers' fumble and his taunting, and he killed them. I'll say Zay Flowers lost a lot of goodwill, I'm sure, in Baltimore with some of his penalties, but I just never really felt like it was actually going to be a loss for the Chiefs.
Yeah, they had like 3 or 4 really silly penalties, just not playing, how they wanted. And I think the Chiefs, I don't want to say the Chiefs played like great. I think they played great in the first half. In the second half, they really just locked them down and just did what they needed to do to win the game. I think the Ravens really, really struggled here. I think if they play this game again, it doesn't go that way. I'm not saying the Ravens win for sure or anything, but that was a
Yeah,
pretty surprising outcome. The game
I'm
got
sure.
bet up to Ravens -5 prior to the kick, so everyone was on the Ravens. All the sports books needed the Chiefs, and of course, the Chiefs got it done.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't want to say it's like all on the coaches. I just think that the Ravens kind of lost their identity because they got down 10 points and they panicked.
Yep.
And their defense is really, really good. It's better. It's way better than the 49ers defense or even the Lions defense. Like it was the best defense in the playoffs. Like you had to have a trust in your team that your defense was going to eventually step up and make plays. And like the defense did play well. Like did the Chiefs take their foot off the gas a little bit? Yes. I mean, I remember they had drives that were eating up clock, but they weren't, getting into field goal territory even. So like you knew that the defense was going to bow up a little bit, but they just kind of it seemed like they put the ball in Lamar's hands a ton. Um, I don't know. I think you got to stick with what got you there, but you can tell the Ravens are a team that we're not used to playing from behind.
Yeah, definitely. They should have ran the ball more. Obviously, they really screwed up. They had 2 fumbles lost and an interception thrown. You lose the turnover battle 3-0 to Patrick Mahomes. I'm sure we could find that stat somewhere. I doubt anyone's ever beaten him, down 3 in turnovers. So,
No.
uh, yeah,
Yeah,
that
everything on
was
paper said Ravens, so I'm not even like, yeah, I'm happy the Chiefs won, but it wasn't like I was, oh yeah, the Chiefs are definitely going to win this game. Like everything on paper, it's in Baltimore. The Ravens have the better defense. They have the better weapons. They have everything. But before we get into the next game, I just want to say I feel like it's maybe we're realizing that the tight end position is a little underrated in terms of like overall team success. What are the odds that the 4 semifinalists have George Kittle, Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, and Sam Laporta? Those are like probably what 4 of the top 5 best tight ends in the NFL. I know there's a couple out the other ones that are really, really good too, but it's just like in order to have like an offense that hits that next gear, you kind of have to have a Hall of Fame Pro Bowl caliber tight end. Like the best dynasties this sport has seen included a Rob Gronkowski, like those kind of guys that, I mean, even Peyton Manning had Dallas Clark and like Shannon Sharp with the Broncos. Like those teams, they all seem to have like that tight end position locked down.
Yeah, I mean, these teams, like, they're also, like, using their tight ends wisely and getting them involved. So it'd be really easy for the Lions, like, "Oh, we have a rookie tight end. We're not gonna ask too much of Laporta." That's the case for, like, pretty much everyone. Kincaid didn't do anything for the Bills the first several weeks, and it took an injury to Knox, and then they're like, "Oh, boy, like, this kid is actually he's ready to go." So he's got a bright future. But yeah, I think that's a great point. Finding those tight ends, getting them involved. You look at Evan Ingram for the Jaguars. He had like 117 catches this year somehow.
Oh shit.
So yeah, pretty incredible. I have to double check that Evan Ingram catches because that was a super high number that caught me off guard. But yeah, so um, what I want to do is get into this next game here. We have the Lions Niners, and the Lions, I feel bad for Lions fans. They
I
dominated the
know.
first half. You don't you don't feel bad?
No.
Okay.
I mean, couple things. One,
Yeah.
their fans on Twitter are so annoying. Like Bears Twitter and Lions Twitter go at it more so than like even Vikings Twitter. I mean, not more than Green Bay, but just like their fans are just kind of delusional. I kind of respect it in a way, but I just don't feel bad for them because I mean, we can get into when we just start doing the play by play, and I'll have some thoughts
All right.
because that was embarrassing.
All right. So first half, don't really want to go into too much detail here. It's pretty simple. Lions were doing whatever they wanted on offense. 49ers were not doing anything. It's 21-7, I believe, late in the first half. This game really came down to Dan Campbell's decision making. So we have a few here we can talk about. His first one was he kicked a field goal to make it 24-7 right before the half. I personally was fine with that. I know in the regular season he was going for it. Did you feel that you were okay with
I
his
agreed
decision?
with it in the moment to go up 3 scores. Yeah,
Yes.
I had no problem with it.
17 points, even just like mentally, that is a lot to come back from. Three
I think
scores,
he
like you
made
said.
some choices later on that I didn't agree with in real time, but that one I did.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, first half, Amon-Ra's getting open. I know they converted like a 3rd and 18. They're running it, giving it to Gibbs, doing whatever they want. Niners can't get a stop. We go to the second half, and I want to say the flip switches or the switch flips, but it really didn't. I mean, there's 6:30 to play. The Lions have the ball 24-10 because the Niners got a field goal. Big whoop. It's 24-10 with 6:30 to go. And the reason why they got the ball with 6:30 is because the Lions went for it on 4th and 2 with 7:03 left in the third quarter. Goff goes incomplete to Josh Reynolds. 4th and 2, it would have been like a 50-plus yard field goal, would have been far. I don't necessarily hate going for it there, but the Niners couldn't stop them, but they finally do. It's just they got to drop. It happens, and you
That
give the Niners field position.
Reynolds played just an absolutely terrible second half. I didn't agree with the decision at the time, but it was the right play. It was designed. Everything worked. The player just fucked up. And
Yeah,
it's at the end of the day, you need players to make plays to win games. So like I would say majority of the blame goes on the players, or
yeah.
especially in particular Reynolds. But I didn't agree with the decision. It's just the decision was ended up being right by luck, and they still didn't execute. So um, say the biggest play of the game. I feel like whenever there's an underdog in a game or you're playing a team that has like an all-time great on it, there's always a moment where the team who's trying to slay the Goliath, they have an opportunity to kind of stomp on that team's throat, to kind of go for the kill shot. And it just feels like every single time that doesn't happen or the table gets reversed like that, it's over. And
Yeah.
I felt it with Tom Brady. I've felt it multiple times with Tom Brady. I felt it in that game. The second that they give up that touchdown, they're still up 24-14 or 10, whatever it was. But when they go and they fumble the handoff or whatever it was on their own
Yes.
25,
Yeah, so the
was the
Niners
game. That was it.
the Niners get the ball back after that stop. They throw a 50-yard pass to Ayuk that goes off a face mask of a defender, flies 10 feet in the air. He catches at the 2. McCaffrey runs it in. They kick it down to the Lions. Gibbs fumbles. CMC scores again. So from 6:30 to play, or like 7 minutes to play in the third quarter, Lions have the ball in the territory of the Niners. Less than exactly like 4 minutes and 1 second of game time, and it's tied 24-24. Everything that you worked for in the first half is just gone that fast.
If you're gonna, when I said I didn't feel bad for the Lions, I only feel bad for them for that one play where
Yeah,
that throw by Purdy was not good. I know you were trying to instigate with me and act like Purdy's awesome. All this, I'll admit he played better in the second half. That throw was not good. That was not a good decision. But it's hard to feel bad for the Lions when it hits off your freaking face mask. Catch the ball.
should have been intercepted. So it's interesting. They called it pass interference on the play, but they ended up picking it up. Do you think they would have kept the pass interference if it was an incomplete pass?
Knowing the NFL, yeah, I didn't even know that. I didn't even catch that live.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, dude, that was one of the weirdest plays I can remember in a big game like that. Like, I'm sure I'm forgetting some. Obviously, I remember, like, was it Edelman or Amendola with, like, their fingers, tips?
That was Edelman. That was Edelman
Yeah.
against the Falcons. That was really that was a good play, but that was also like a first or second down play. So they didn't necessarily need that. The one I'm kind of thinking of is the Seahawks. The Seahawks Patriots Super Bowl, like a couple plays before the Malcolm Butler interception, they threw it to Javon Curse in the bottom right of your TV screen, the right sideline, and it kind of bounced off 2 guys, and he caught it, and he went out of bounds like the 5-yard
Oh,
line. I don't know if
yes,
you
yes,
remember
yes,
that.
yes, yes. I do
Yeah.
remember that.
So that reminded me a lot of that. So yeah, this was, obviously it's 24-24, 3 minutes left. It's not over. Lions are all right. So the Niners, they end up getting the ball back with around 3 minutes left in the third quarter. They are driving down the field. Everything's looking good, but the Lions end up stopping them and forcing a field goal, which I thought was huge. I thought that all the momentum was with the Niners. Then they're only up 3. It's like, well, the Lions are still in this game. You don't really know what's going to happen. But then you kind of remember you're playing Dan Campbell and you feel a little bit better. It's fourth
Yeah.
and 3 with 7:39 to go. 4th and 3 with 7:39 to go. And they have a 48-yard field goal opportunity with Mike Badgley, who is 78% for the season, between 40 and 49 yards. So 48-yard field goal. They choose to go for it. They do not get it. Niners go down, score a touchdown, they get up 10. Would you have gone for it there or kick?
I wanted them to kick it because my logic at the time was it was a far kick, except 48 yards. And I know that their kicker isn't great, but just because you get the first down there, that doesn't guarantee points. It wasn't a situation where, like, they're in the red zone or anything like that. Like, you could get that first down and still end up having to kick a field goal. Like, it just they still had like 30 yards to go, I guess is my point. So the job was not close to done. I just felt like tying the game or taking a chance to tie the game was more important than risking it just to maybe score. I don't know.
No, yeah, you brought up earlier, like, stepping on someone's throat, like, to just close out a game. They could have done that, up in the third quarter, but now they're trying to stay in the game. They're trying to give themselves another chance. I'm all for tying the game there. They opt to go for it, incomplete pass. Yeah, I know
Yeah.
Josh Reynolds had another huge drop in the fourth quarter
Huge.
too, which
Yeah.
we didn't bring up. So it's 34-24. Lions get the ball back. They have all 3 timeouts. If they drive down and get a field goal and get a touchdown, then they can try to get the ladder after an onside kick or force a punt. Try that. So they drive down the field. They get it at 3rd and goal, and I don't want to blame this on Dan Campbell because this was Ben Johnson's call. Everyone's darling. The Commanders really wanted him. He didn't end up going there. We can talk about that later, but Ben Johnson runs the ball. David Montgomery gets stuffed, and they have to call a timeout. well, they don't. I guess they don't have to call a timeout. They did call a timeout. Maybe you should have had another play ready to go. I know you don't want to, be forced on that fourth down, but they end up scoring. But there's two timeouts, so it doesn't even matter. They're forced to onside kick it. Onside kicks are like 3 for like 90 the past 2 seasons. What do you think's gonna happen?
The game was over when he called that timeout.
Yep.
It didn't matter. They got the touchdown. The game was
No.
over. I knew it was over. There was not a single doubt in my mind it was over. Because even if they recover the onside kick, they still had work to do just to get a field goal. And you just told us you didn't trust your kicker from 48. So none of it made sense. If you're going to run the ball, you do it on second down. You don't put yourself in a corner by doing it on third when you need fourth down, because theoretically you could have spiked it on third down if you really wanted to. They would have been better off having their special teams ready to go and just running them onto the field and kicking it, even though it wastes a shit ton of time. But at
Yeah.
least if you do recover the onside kick, you have a timeout. I don't know.
Well, no. Then if they would have done that, then they could have kicked it deep and then forced
yeah,
a
and then
punt. Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah, exactly, yeah.
yeah.
And
So
it was just like there was no upside to calling that timeout. There was really no upside to running that play unless you fooled the 49ers defense, but it's just none of it worked. I want to say the 49ers defense played better in the second half, but I really don't think they did. I mean, they had nothing to do with the fumbled handoff. They had nothing to do with the drops. Like, I guess they did play better. They weren't just like completely terrible, but it wasn't like they were making plays to stop the Lions. The Lions were stopping themselves. There was another big drop too, but it just, yeah, it felt at the time. I don't. Do you believe in like momentum? I guess I don't. I think it's a confidence thing, and that's why I feel like kicking the field goal would have been even more important, because to tie the game up, to kind of quiet the crowd, I guess. Like, it's tied. The game ends right now. We don't lose. Like, you need to do something to kind of show some resistance. And they were like doubling down on these fourth downs when things were already going against them, and it just like exponentially made them worse. And then you kind of saw a team that wasn't used to that moment turtle,
yeah.
where the Niners have been in these situations like they've made deep playoff runs like 4 years in a row, it feels like.
Yep. Yeah. It's
Because you pencil them in for eliminating the Packers from the playoffs every year, so they have playoff experience.
So we brought up Ben Johnson. He ended up declining any head coaching jobs because he has unfinished business. So
Is that true?
I don't know. I guess you can't write the Lions off for next year. They're still going to be there, but there's obviously no guarantees. We have the Niners Chiefs Super Bowl. Yeah, I mean, I think this is the best matchup out of the four teams, in my opinion. I guess you could make the case for Ravens, Niners, but the Ravens did just beat them by 30. And I feel like that could have been the case again, potentially, but I guess you never know. What I wanted to ask you now is like in terms of before we like go and do our, what we're gonna end up betting and kind of how we feel about the game. I wanted to ask you, what do you think is the best unit on the field? Or who will be the best unit on the field next Sunday, and who will be the worst? So as in like offense, defense, special teams for each
I
side.
think the Niners have the best unit and the worst unit. So I think the Niners offense is probably the best unit. It doesn't really have a weakness. Um, I mean, they have Debo. McCaffrey is probably who would be my MVP with where things are right now. Obviously, at the end of this season, I was fine with Lamar, but I think McCaffrey is the most valuable player besides Mahomes in the league right now.
Yeah.
The things he does to open up the passing game, what he can do in the passing game himself, running the ball. I mean, he's almost a lock. Like, his touchdown prop is like minus 250 to score. Like, he's treated like he's got like a 70-80% chance to score in playoff games.
And it's
Big,
true.
big play. Yeah, big play. Yeah, I mean, he scores twice every playoff game, it seems like. So big plays are like the key to success in the NFL. And these two offenses typically are leaders in that. I think this year the Chiefs aren't, but the Niners are, and he's why. Obviously, you have Debo, you have um, Kittle. I'll be happy for him if they win, I guess. But um, they have Trent Williams. They have NFL. Oh, they have the best fullback in the league. He's
Mhm.
been to what 10 Pro Bowls in a row or something. Like they have just guys everywhere. So I would say them. And when
I
Purdy uses his legs, it's like an extra dimension too.
yeah,
That was the difference in the game for me. Was Purdy
yeah,
started running the ball in the second half
yeah,
instead of forcing it.
we didn't bring that up. He had 3 huge rushes for first downs, and that's, one thing to kinda target. I bet the Patrick Mahomes over rush yards, and that, I guess, game didn't go how I thought it would, so he didn't really need to have the opportunities to rush in the second half, but I think I do like that bet for the Super Bowl. These guys, when it gets down to it, you need a first down. These QBs will make plays, and they're not afraid to get hit, to try to ice these games. So I do agree with you overall that the offense for the Niners is the best unit. I think it's a close second to the Chiefs' defense. They've really proven that they can hang with anyone and stop anybody. I think what it just comes down to is the Chiefs offense against the Niners defense. Are we going to have the Chiefs of the first half, the Chiefs of the second half last week, or somewhere in between? It's probably going to be somewhere in between. The interesting thing, though, is if the Chiefs and Niners would have played a month ago, 8, 10 weeks ago, whatever you want to say, they probably would have been a 4, 5, 6 point favorite. And now it opened at Niners 3, went down to like 1. Now it's kind of up in the 2 range again. So there's been money going both ways, but I just think it's really interesting that these rosters haven't changed much. There's been a couple injuries for both teams, nothing I guess insanely major. Um, but now it's being bet down to 2. So
Yeah, I think that's just a product of we've the the Niners have played 3 games in the last calendar month. One was a 40-point loss. One was a comeback in a game they were a 10-point favorite, and then the other one was this past week against the Lions where they were down 3 scores. So they've looked vulnerable in every single game, but they've done enough to win. Um, and then obviously there's the whole like I'm not betting against Mahomes ever again crowd that are like I'd rather lose being on Mahomes' side because I won't feel like an idiot. That I think it might be getting overblown. I've kind of tuned out a lot of the talk show type stuff. I think the day after I listen to some pods and things, but um, 2 weeks is too much time, and there's too much just regurgitating the same thing. But that's like the one thing. I feel like there's a lot more excitement for the Super Bowl than the previous handful, so that's good. But it's been a lot of you can't bet against Mahomes type stuff, which I understand, but I also think that's probably hurting the Chiefs in terms of like if like I'm a little annoyed because I want to bet the Chiefs. I'm not getting as good of a number because of that whole narrative.
yeah, yeah. So it's kind of funny because last year Mahomes was an underdog in the Super Bowl, and everyone has that mentality like we're never gonna get Mahomes as an underdog ever again. Like we have to bet him. Well, then fast forward to this year, he's an underdog 3 weeks in a row. And I know this
Yeah.
is an outlier. Their weapons are not good. Kelsey, he didn't have a great year, and it looks like he was kind of just saving himself for the postseason. Which credit to them. That's exactly what they needed to do. It's working great, but you know, it's funny too though that like Tyreek Hill, like yeah, you have one of the top 3, 4 wide receivers in the league. If they didn't trade him, they would have not been able to build this defense. And this defense is the reason why they beat Lamar and the reason why they beat Josh Allen and the reason why they beat Tua with Tyreek Hill. Like this defense did that job. So want to just give credit to them. They just need to make sure that they develop Rashee Rice, maybe sign a T Higgins if they can afford him. I'm not sure. I know a few teams are interested there this offseason, but I think they did the right thing getting rid of Hill and focusing on the defense. But that's just the NFL. You have to change, and you have to build your rosters to to beat the guys that are in your on your side of the AFC NFC. Like if you're a coach in the NFC, you're building a totally different roster than the AFC. You don't have to go against Mahomes. You don't have to go against Herbert, Josh Allen, Burrow, Lamar. It's just totally different. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
just an interesting dynamic.
I don't think people realize how much money Tyreek Hill makes. Like his cap hit is like $50 million. So I don't think it was possible for them to bring him back. I don't really remember exactly what they got when they traded him. But I just like you made a good point. Yeah, the defense has played better. I can see a game script for each side. I can see how the 49ers can win. I can see how the Chiefs can win. I think the Chiefs, my concern as someone betting on them is the 49ers have a good offensive line. They have a good running back. They have a good fullback. Like if they go and do what the Bills decided to do 2 weeks ago, I think they have trouble. And my biggest concern with the offense is, yeah, they don't have any big plays. I did look it up. Their big play percentage has gone down insane since the Tyreek Hill era. So they've won in like a totally different style of play. They're obviously running more now. But also, besides just the wide receivers, their offensive line, their right tackle in particular, is the most penalized right tackle in the league. And when I've watched them and when they've struggled, their drives, they seem to stall when they get penalties, especially on the other team's side of the field. So it's like, that's not really in Mahomes' control to a point. Like, if they had a touchdown called back on a penalty, they had another drive get pushed out of field goal range because of a penalty, that concerns me because I could see it being like, it doesn't matter what play Mahomes makes, it's going to get called back. And then it's 2nd and 10, 20, and you're not an offense that I just said they're not a big play offense.
Yeah.
I like Rice a lot as a wide receiver, but if you look at his stats, like he's a yak guy. Most of his yards are after the catch. He's great with screens and like basically an extension of the running game. He's not making catches 15, 20 bombs down the field. That's really MVS's thing. So yeah, they're gonna have to find some different ways to get some explosive plays because I don't think you can just go Pacheco, pound him over and over again, and then hope that you can catch MVS over the top. Because I think after the last couple games, teams are looking for that now.
Yeah. I totally
And you have to
agree.
trust he can catch it, which that's pretty hit or miss in his career. So
I was just gonna say they're gonna need someone to make a big play, just like they did last week. MBS did it last week. I don't know if Tony's gonna be active. That guy's a total mess. Sky Moore, I don't know if he's gonna play.
he's a bust.
Yeah, so it's gonna have to be
You
the
know who
receiver, I
Sky
feel.
Moore's? You know who Sky Moore's college coach was?
No.
Tim Lester, Iowa's new offensive coordinator.
Oh, there you go. There you go. The
Yeah,
Iowa
that's
OC
that's
job.
the that's the Iowa news. Iowa hired Tim Lester over was it David Johns or something like that, the Duke OC. So yeah, this guy was like the old Western Michigan head coach. In his time there, he had like 3 NFL wide receivers that he coached. So if I'm not super pumped about the hire. I'm going to give him a chance, but that's the one positive you can find is that he recruited like 3 wide receivers that all ended up like being top 2 or 3 round picks.
Well, there you have it. Okay. Was he there with Corey Davis?
No, that was PJ Fleck.
Okay.
Let me see. Western Michigan wide receivers. They had one that I didn't even know his name, but he was drafted pretty high. Dwayne Eskridge.
Yeah, I know who that is.
I don't know what team he's on, but he was pretty high pick. And then there was one other one. But yeah, either way, I just thought that was interesting.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess I'll go into why I think the Niners are going to win, and I feel really good about it. So I've been listening to a lot of the same old thing as you podcasts, radio shows, TV, whatever. I feel like everyone is just rooting for the Chiefs because it's the easy decision. Like, oh, let's pick Patrick Mahomes because he's Patrick Mahomes. I don't think that's why you're making the decision. I know that's at least part of it because part of it for me is why should I not bet on the Niners is because of Patrick Mahomes. So I get that, but just basing your whole handicap off of Patrick Mahomes, I think, is just irresponsible. Um, as I say that, I'm now my whole handicap is gonna be on Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is I think that he is a legitimately great quarterback. People love to make fun of him. Oh, he threw 4 interceptions against the Ravens. He wasn't good in the first half, blah blah blah. He keeps winning. He's here in the Super Bowl. I just think he's ready to go. So he's dealt with all of the poor play in this postseason. He's ready to put it behind him, play well in the Super Bowl. I think they're going to get CMC involved a ton. Like we said, the Bills went 38 for like 180 yards against the Chiefs. CMC is going to keep running the ball. They have Elijah Mitchell as that 1-2 punch. I would imagine he maybe gets only 3 or 4 carries to give CMC a breather, but he's still there. I think Debo is going to have the ball a ton on the ground. His rushing prop today just got bet from 13.5 up to 15.5. So yeah, if you follow at I can pull up his Twitter, but it's Hitman on Twitter. He just released Debo Samuel over, and that immediately went up. Yeah, Hitman 428 on Twitter. He's a sharp. Maybe we can get him on the show someday. But so I like that Debo rushing prop. I do also want to give real quick. I have 2 Super Bowl MVP bets in pocket.
Mm.
Both I only put $10 on it, nothing crazy. I have Debo Samuel 45-1. He's down to 20-1, and then I have Kittle at 60-1. He's pretty much right there. The Kittle one is kind of just for fun. I don't actually think that happens unless the game states like he gets 2 or 3 touchdowns.
He's popular enough
That's
that if he has a good game, I could see people giving it to him and then like pulling that clip of him saying like, "I'm going to get back to another Super Bowl," all that
yeah.
crap, and it being like this thing. He outplays Kelsey with Taylor Swift in the house in the Super Bowl. Blah blah blah. Hall of Fame, which I'd be happy for him. Obviously, an Iowa guy, but yeah, it's a long shot
Yeah.
for a reason.
Yeah, no, but but the storyline is there. It's possible. So I thought 60-1, whatever. It's cool. But the Debo, I do feel good about it. I think that as much as I love Purdy, I just said he's great. He's ready to go. CMC is going to be scoring the touchdowns, and if he doesn't, it's going to be Debo. And I think those two, I really want to target those two. You can get CMC at like plus 450 still. He started at like 6-1. If you're betting the Chiefs, it's probably going to be Mahomes. I don't know. It's Mahomes or Kelsey, I guess. It's going to be nobody else. Maybe
Yeah.
Pacheco, but I highly doubt that. So, yeah, those are my 2 plays for Super Bowl MVP. But I will be betting the Niners. I haven't bet it yet because I'm hoping it goes down to like -1.5. I will be betting it though at some point. So
Yeah. So I don't think Purdy's great. I would love to see what he'd look like on a team that's not loaded with like 4 or 5 Hall of Famers on his side of the ball and Kyle Shanahan. I think if he was on, I think a lot, if he were playing in other games besides Detroit and Green Bay, like if Mahomes played, if a lot of quarterbacks played the way that he played in the first 2 to 3 quarters of those games, their teams would lose, and there really wouldn't be a chance to come back. But I will give him credit for how he's closed games. He's had like the drive to win the game basically in both. He did when he uses his legs late in the game, he gets a lot more dangerous. I don't think he's the one who makes that team go, and I think winning matters to a player's reputation. Obviously, like Mahomes isn't Mahomes if he doesn't have the Super Bowls or the Super Bowl appearances or the AFC title or all that. So I'm not going to be a hypocrite. But Jimmy G also took the 49ers to the Super Bowl and had a lead in the Super Bowl. And I'm not going to act like if Jimmy G wins that game because Mahomes throws a pick instead of coming back, like that he's all of a sudden this on another tier because he has that Super Bowl necessarily. So I guess my only point is we've seen quarterbacks look good with Shanahan with those weapons and win. I do think Purdy's better than Jimmy G for whatever that's worth. But
I have 2 things to say. One, we'll go back to that Chiefs Niners Super Bowl real quick. the Niners were winning 20-10 going into the fourth quarter, and the Chiefs outscored them 21-0 in the fourth quarter. I know, like, I remember, like, the Niners, like, dropped an interception, and Jimmy D threw an interception. The things happen. But I do want to bring up Brock Purdy, too. Brock Purdy, this is his first full season in the NFL. Because if you remember last year, he came on late, and then he got hurt in the NFC title game. In his first full season, he is first in QBR, first in passer rating, fifth in passing yards, third in TDs, second in completion percentage, first in yards per attempt, first in EPA per play, first in completion air yards per attempt. And then I know your rebuttal is like, well, he's got Debo, CMC, blah, blah, blah. With Debo off the field, Purdy's still first in yards per attempt, success rate, tied for first in EPA per attempt, tied for first in touchdown and first down percentage. So you can't say that. I'm not saying you. I'm just saying people in general. You cannot say that he is not a good QB, because he is. He's still young.
The QB play in the league is down so much that you can't say that he's not good, because you have to look at who he's being compared to. I mean, let's look at the NFC playoff picture. We had Baker, Hurts, Love, Goff. Am I missing someone?
Dak.
Dak. Yeah. It's not very good. Like, you can rank them however you want, and you can skew the stats to say whatever you want for really any of those guys. But at the end of the day, like, there's just not that much separation between them. Like, you can make a case for or against almost any of them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would like to see what he'd look like if he were on the Broncos. I don't think he'd look great. I don't think we'd be talking about him this way, but I also don't think he's bad. I don't think he's like a liability.
Yeah. That's fair. I mean, we're going to hopefully get a lot of questions answered this Super Bowl. If he goes out, plays really, really well, you probably feel a lot better. If he struggles again, it's indoors, there's no weather, there's no excuses here, it's perfect conditions, then maybe the moment got to him.
We kind of skipped the other side of the ball because we just know, like, I guess I did mention a little bit about like Pacheco and like the big plays needed for the Chiefs, but the Niners defense has looked pretty shitty at times lately. So in the game script where the Chiefs do win, that's probably going to be why. Because even if Purdy doesn't play his best, the Niners are still going to get theirs through the running game, the play action, the tight end. Like, they're going to get points. It's not like they're going to get shut out. But I really just don't see the Niners defense, who struggled with pretty much every quarterback they've faced the last month, looking good. I mean, like I said, the Lions gashed them.
They couldn't.
The Lions
couldn't tackle. It was like the third Niner to get to the guy would get him down.
I think they're really top heavy talent wise on that side of the ball, because obviously Bosa's really good and Fred Warner's really good, and I think I'm forgetting another guy or two.
Yeah.
I don't think Chase Young even gives a shit, but
no,
they have a lot of. I think those names kind of mask a defense that as a unit is not very good.
Yeah. So they lost Taylona Hufanga, their like safety. It's he's definitely a good player. He's a Pro Bowl type player, but other than that,
2 weeks to prepare for Reed and Shanahan, I think, should help both offenses. I don't even know who the Niners defensive coordinator is since Saleh, but I mean, I think you've got three really good coaches, three really good you have the two head coaches, obviously, in Shanahan and Andy Reid, and then you've also got Spagnuolo. So they've got 2 weeks for some of the best football minds to kind of game plan. So I think that's the other thing that's kind of like, we don't know who's going to win that chess match.
Yeah. And you brought up the defensive coordinators, and we can kind of wrap up here. The Niners, they went from Saleh for 3 years to DeMeco Ryans to now Steve Wilks. So it's like, did they just get lucky?
Panthers.
Did
Head
they
coach,
just
that's
get
right.
lucky with two really good defensive-minded coaches? It's possible, but they do have the
Yeah.
talent right now. Those guys did build up the talent. Um, so yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. It's going to be interesting. Definitely advantage Spagnola. I do want to just rapid fire through this real quick. You just tell me which unit you prefer. So first up, quarterback. Which side are you taking?
Mahomes.
Yeah, I'm taking the Chiefs too. Okay. Um, offensive line,
Niners.
Niners. Just overall offense, like as with weapons and everything involved.
Niners.
I'm taking the Niners too. Um, defense, just defense as a whole. We're taking the Chiefs, obviously. Special
Yeah.
teams, I think that it's kind of a toss up. I would just give the advantage to Butker
Well, I was
over
gonna say
Moody.
that's the other thing is the Niners kicker sucks
Yeah,
lately,
he's a
at least.
rookie. Yeah.
So
Yes. So give him the advantage with Butker there. Coaching, I think that's pretty obvious. The Chiefs as well.
yeah, but it's not a
Um,
huge gap. I don't think. I still think Shanahan's a top 3 to 5 coach. I know he doesn't have a Super Bowl, but now that Pete Carroll and Bill Belichick are gone, how many active coaches have a Super Bowl? 3, 4, 4.
I don't know.
Tomlin, Harbaugh, McVay, and Reed.
Sean Payton, Doug Peterson as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
Doug Peterson. Where is he coaching? Oh, he's Jacksonville.
Jags. Yeah. Yeah.
6, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I think most people would still rather have Shanahan than like a Doug Peterson.
Yeah.
And I'd rather have him than Sean Payton. So, not that Super Bowls are the end all be all. Oh, McCarthy.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. You got McCarthy too.
Yeah. So, I guess, long story short, he's probably a top 5-ish coach.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I
Well,
still rather have Andy Reid.
we'll be talking about this more next week. We're gonna have a guest on. Hopefully, I believe Tuesday night. We're in the works with getting another professional better on the pod. So he'll be breaking down his handicap for the game, and then as well, we'll be talking Super Bowl props. Hopefully, some fun bets we can do. You know, some you can throw a few bucks on and just kind of have fun with it, but others where we do feel some pretty good conviction there. Real quick, just to close off the NFL, I just wanted to read through the NFL coaching hires. So I think last time we were on here, it was, Bill Belichick's going to be getting a job potentially. Where's he going to be going? Looks like he got shut out of. It looks like he got shut out of things. The Niners, they went for Ben Johnson. Apparently, they were flying to meet Ben Johnson, and he just said he's not interested anymore. So they had to go to Dan Quinn of the Cowboys. So the Cowboys have a DC opening. Brian Callahan, the OC for the Bengals, went to the Titans. Dave Canales, the OC for the Buccaneers, went to the Panthers. Harbaugh went to the Chargers. Mike McDonald, the DC of the Ravens, went to the Seahawks. Gerard Mayo went to the Patriots. Raheem Morris went to the Falcons. And Antonio Pierce went to the Raiders. So am I missing anybody? I think that's it. Yeah.
No, that sounds right.
Yeah. So big thing here. Bill Belichick shut out. Vrabel somehow shut out. I don't know if that means, if a team starts like the Bills, if the Bills
The
or the
Bears?
Eagles, the Bears, if one of these teams start 0-3 next year, do they give these guys a call? I don't know.
The Bears have a lame duck possibility. I mean, if they start out 2-5, Eberflus is gone, so
Yeah.
it's possible. The Bears hired Shane Waldron as OC. He was the offensive coordinator for the Seahawks. I like the hire. He made Geno Smith look good.
Yep.
So anytime you can do that, I think that's a positive. They also just hired somebody who was interviewing for head coaching jobs. He's like in his mid-30s, and he's going to be their passing game coordinator. So I'm pretty excited about him too. I know he's probably only going to be there for a year. Thomas Brown. He was working with the Rams So he's
Yep.
buddies with Waldron. So they overpaid him a crap ton apparently to come. But I think they're loading up for Caleb Williams. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that those guys only took that job thinking that they're gonna um, get to coach the number one pick.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw today, but Albert Breer was reporting that he thinks that as we get closer to the combine, it's more and more likely that Justin Fields gets traded.
Yeah, I've seen the Raiders kind of come in the mix as an option in addition to the speculated Falcons. That
Steelers.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see. Um, but yeah, I think that's going to happen sooner than later.
Yep. Okay, keep an eye on
The
that.
draft's what, 2.5 months away, 10 weeks away.
Yeah, let's get a date on that NFL draft date. So the draft this
February's
year.
got a leap. This is a leap year, remember? So there's 29 days in February.
That's a good point. We can have a special leap year podcast. April 25th through the 27th. The draft. Where is the draft this year? Why do I want to say it's in Detroit?
God, that would suck.
Still a little cold. Could be snowing. I don't know. It doesn't say.
That'll be
Yeah, it's in
season.
Detroit. It's in Detroit. Let's
April's
go,
going to be
baby.
an awesome month, dude. We got the NCAA tournament wrapping up. NBA playoffs are just about to start. Baseball will be in its first month, so I'll still be optimistic about my team for sure. And then obviously you've got the NFL draft. So everything is going to be happening around that time. So and also obviously it's like summertime. So
Yeah.
dude, I think you're going to be with me for the draft.
Is it that week?
Well, you said you were going to come and stay with me for a week after
Isn't
the weekend of April 20th, right?
Yeah, I think that's right. I think we'll be there for the draft. That'll be an exciting time.
It starts the Thursday night, so I don't know what night you were leaving, but you'll be there for the first round.
No, yeah, I wouldn't be leaving until the following Sunday or Monday, so we got time. I do want to say I want to tease this a little bit. This is more of just like for my self enjoyment, but I have been working on creating a website for all my mock drafts. I've been manually hard coding it. I've done it for the last 3 weekends. I've been grinding in silence. I'm very, very close to releasing it. I'll try to finish it up either this weekend or next. But I will have my first mock draft, 2024 mock draft 1.0. It will be released the Monday morning after the Super Bowl on the 12th. So everyone, keep your eyes peeled for that.
All right.
All right.
I'll do a mock for the first like 15 picks, and then after that, I don't care.
I found an old mock from you where you mocked the first like 18 picks and the last 12 spelled out "I don't care" in just singular letters. So
that's
you can do another.
How it goes.
Yeah, you can do another one of those. All right. You want to talk a little bit of baseball for 5 minutes here and then wrap it up? I think you got some things to say.
Yeah, Theo Epstein is joining the Red Sox ownership group, so look out for them in the next few years. I'm sure he's not going to be a part of a loser. He's the greatest to ever do it. So keep an eye on that. In terms of staying in the AL East, the Orioles made a trade for Corbin Burns. They gave up some prospects. It was like a 1-year rental, so they didn't give up anything crazy. Joey Ortiz was like the highlight of that trade. He's like a third baseman who's had a cup of coffee in the majors and struggled. So he's like in his like low to mid 20s. So he's still young, but I don't know. I'm not, as a Cubs fan, it's good. You see Corbin Burns leave the division. I already got a Cubs future at plus 220 to win the NL Central. So feel free to add that to the tracker. It went to like plus 210, and then there was like some news that came out that got it down to like plus 130. So I don't know. I have it at plus 220. I feel good about it. If Cody Bellinger, I'm sure some of this is baked into the odds, but if Cody Bellinger were to sign with the Cubs, I think that would at least go down to like plus 200. The Brewers are now plus 700, which is kind of insane. One site I saw, I think it was DraftKings. They had, because FanDuel has the Cubs at plus 220. That's where I got it. And the Cardinals were like plus 200. But for whatever reason, DraftKings has totally different odds as of today. They have the Cubs with the fourth best odds to win the National League.
Oh wow.
So, I mean, they're still like 15 to 1, 14 to 1, which isn't great, but considering what the Dodgers are going to be and the Braves are going to be as like favorites, I thought that was pretty good.
All right, we'll get you
Um,
down for Cubs plus 220 to win the
okay,
Central.
perfect.
Like it.
And let's see, the Cubs did sign Hector Neris. He had a 1.7 ERA last year. I don't think you can expect that again, but for 1 year, $9 million, veteran reliever. I think everybody in the Cubs fan base can agree it's a good deal. Um, but yeah, I think that's the main things. Justin Turner just signed with um, who was it? Why am I drawing a blank?
Justin Turner is with the I don't know where. Oh, the
It's
Blue
not the
Jays. The Blue
Blue
Jays,
Jays.
because they're
Yeah.
not going to have Chapman anymore. So Chapman is still out
Yep.
there. Interesting. Do you think Chapman is going to go for a short term deal, or is he going to hold out for long term?
If I were him, I'd go for long term because he's like 2 or 3 years older than Cody Bellinger. Even if he has a solid year, he's going to be like 31, 32. How many teams are going to be willing to go or going to all of a sudden want to give you a long term deal? I don't know. Um, it's risky. It's risky. I don't know. Cody Bellinger is kind of starting to get annoying. Him and Boris. I don't know if it's him or if it's Boris. It's just kind of like I think everyone's rolling their eyes at this point. The big four Boris clients: Bellinger, Chapman, Snell, and Montgomery. None of them have signed. Um, I do think there's a chance you see the Giants get one of those pitchers. I think Snell makes a lot of sense for them. Um, I don't want him, but I could see them wanting him, and I could see the Red Sox making a deal as well, and then the Cubs probably getting Bellinger back. At this point, I'd be surprised if he's not back, but I'm kind of indifferent. I'm not as excited as some people are to bring him back. I think for me, it's the contract is very important for a guy like him. So
Yeah.
I'll judge the move based off the amount of money he gets and the amount of years and guarantees. So that's really it. I don't think there's going to be anything too crazy other than potentially Bellinger or Chapman to the Cubs.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. We are only a few more weeks until pitchers and catchers report, so we're almost there. Just gotta get through the Super Bowl. Um, and yeah, we'll be right there. So super excited for that. Shifting over to NBA, I just want to touch on MVP. So I forgot if we talked about this last time. I don't think we did, but Joel Embiid has been playing really well lately. He just dropped 70 the other day. However, because he's missed so many games and he just re-injured his meniscus, and I think that's a pretty, at least moderate to significant type of injury where he will be missing time. If he misses 4 more games, he's not going to be eligible to win MVP.
I don't
So
think he's going to be eligible. I don't think he's going to hit that number.
that's what I'm saying. It's gonna be a legit miracle. He's already down to he was like plus he's like even money essentially a few days ago, and now it looks like he's off the board. You can't even bet him. Yeah.
So I mean I haven't looked. I'm looking right now, but I'm going to guess Jokic is like the big favorite where
Jokic
there's not
is
even value.
minus 135, SGA plus 250, Luca plus 700, and then Giannis plus 800. I think there's value with Giannis. I'm not gonna touch it though.
Yeah, I bet Luca like literally a week before. This is crazy. I got him at plus 600 a week before his 70-point game or whatever. He went from plus 600 to plus 700 since.
Yeah, I didn't do anything.
So it really didn't move the needle in terms of the MVP at all. But yeah, so whatever, it's going to be Jokic. I do want to say I know we called Tyler Ellingson last time about the Bucks. We haven't gotten a Bucks shout out in this episode yet, but I do want to say that I'm glad the Doc Rivers move is paying off for them. They did lose to the Portland Trailblazers Wednesday night in Dame's return, so glad to see it's going well.
Yeah, all credit to them. Great hire.
Clearly, it was the coach's fault. So
Yep, yep, exactly. That's when we bring up the Bucks, it's about time to wrap up the show. So another good episode. Real quickly, I did just want to touch on our 6-pack, which we forgot to bring up at the beginning. So we had 2 tennis plays. Coco Gauff lost. Yannick Sinner won. Beat Djokovic. Ended up beating Medvedev in the finals for the Australian Open. So shout out to him for his first Grand Slam. And then Slade had a Chiefs and Niners teaser, which somehow got home. The Niners, that was a little sweaty there, but it got home. So our 6-pack is back up to double digits. We're up 10.7 units. So that's essentially a whole football season worth plus a few extra sports thrown in there, up 10.7 units. So nothing to bat your eyes at. I'm happy with that. And we just gotta, keep building that up and just keep stacking these 10s and 10s and 10s. And pretty soon we'll be at 100 plus units. Don't you worry.
Yep. And I've got a play. I'll probably add it to the tracker next week. I don't have the exact numbers or any of that type of crap, so don't add it yet. But my lean in right now is I'm going to do Patrick Mahomes and Brock Purdy both throw for. This is a parlay with a teaser in it, or alt spread, I should say.
Alt spread. Yeah.
So 4 legs. 2 are going to be Mahomes to throw for 200 plus, Purdy to throw for 200 plus. Feels like pretty much a lock. I don't know. And then also the other legs are I'm going to do an alt spread with basically tease it both directions, but you have to do the alt for the parlay. So it's going to be like the Chiefs have to keep it within 10.5 and the Niners have to keep it within like 8.5, something like that. I don't know how it works out, but it comes out to like plus 109. So that's what I'm leaning.
Okay. So you think it's going to be a close game? That's what you're saying.
I think it's going to be a 1 touchdown game either way. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, we'll get that down. Officially, we'll break it all down for you. We're going to have that. We're going to talk a ton of Super Bowl props. Last year, I was able to hit on the first and last song by Rihanna. So I'm going to be doing some research this weekend, getting that figured out. And,
yellow Gatorade.
You're picking yellow Gatorade. I think purple's the favorite right now. It's purple then yellow. Yeah. I know you can also bet on like who the Super Bowl MVP would thank first. So,
God,
yeah, God, yeah. Slade and I we'll get together. We should do some research for an hour or so, maybe this weekend or next some night, and then we'll record again Tuesday, and we'll get you guys ready for the big game. So, thank you for tuning in again. We really appreciate it, and we'll catch you guys next time. This has been an episode of Bet GPT.